Inside the Magic, show number 407 for January 20th, 2013. It is Sunday, January 20th, 2013. This is show 407 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. We've got another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and plenty more fun. And before we get to all of that, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. So there you'll find all of our videos, podcasts, photos, news, articles, all that good stuff. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, or anything else that you want to send in, you can do so by emailing me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. At Aulani, a Disney resort and spa in Hawaii, you can enjoy many inclusive features, from entertainment to amazing water features to special activities just for kids and more. Stay 6 nights for the price of 5 at Aulani, with $150 resort credit for most nights from January 8th, which was 12 days ago or so, and all the way through February 15th, as well as February 19th through March 10th of this year. You can do all that by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387, or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote. And be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And thanks very much to listeners and viewers like you for your donations, one-time donations, recurring donations, or clicking through any of those affiliate links like Amazon.com, etc. over on the InsideTheMagic.net website. All of it supports the show, and I thank you very much for that. And now, let's get started with a trip around the world. So I feel like I've had a literal trip around the world this past week, though really it was just a trip around the country. Last week when you heard the show on Sunday, I had actually pre-recorded it by a couple of days because I was making a trip out to Disneyland once again, out to California for the very specific reason. But in advance of that specific reason, I spent an extra couple of days at Disneyland, kind of taking in the new sights and sounds and smells and tastes and all that good stuff around the parks out there. Was out there from Saturday through Tuesday, and then took a very late night flight on home back out here to Orlando. While I was out there, I had a chance to see the Golden Horseshoe Review Salute in Frontierland, part of Limited Time Magic. Very happy that I got to see that. So I've updated the article that Jeremiah Dawes had provided us with, and the video and all that good stuff over at InsideTheMagic.net. So check out the updated article with photos that I took while I was there. Also, stay tuned to the website this week and in the coming days for some updates from the parks out there. Of course, what I was actually out there to do was not just have fun in the parks, which of course you always have to do when you're in the Los Angeles area, but specifically in the Los Angeles area, I was there to see the unveiling of Disney Infinity. New video game, upcoming video game, I should say, from Disney Interactive, and I'll be talking much more about that very exciting announcement and unveiling later in this week's show. But before we get to that, let's get to the regular news this week. And, there wasn't a whole lot of news other than Disney Infinity this week, though there are some exciting things to come to the parks starting this week. In fact, starting tomorrow, the next installment of Limited Time Magic out here at Walt Disney World is really the first Walt Disney World bit of Limited Time Magic that everybody seems to be really excited about. It is going to be Long Lost Friends Week. Some old favorite characters are going to be returning to the park from January 21st to January 27th. And the list that Disney published of characters that would be appearing at the Magic Kingdom are Clarabelle Cow, Horace Horsecollar, Robin Hood, Friar Tuck, the Three Little Pigs, and also pictured on the Disney Parks blog are the Sheriff of Nottingham and Prince John, though they said that even more characters could appear as part of this Limited Time Magic. Other characters rumored to be appearing this week will be Scrooge McDuck, Ludwig von Drake, and perhaps some Pinocchio folks like Jiminy Cricket, etc. Those are just rumored, so the list before before that seem to be the ones that are definitely going to be there. Again, it starts tomorrow, though the set times haven't been officially announced yet. It seems like it's going to be a morning to mid-afternoon kind of thing, and it's probably going to take place in Town Square. So it's one of those things, you walk right in the park, you're going to see these characters for probably the first half of the day, and then you'll have to come back perhaps the next day. But again, those are not that's not official or officially published set times quite yet. So looking forward to that. I'll be definitely heading over to the Magic Kingdom sometime this week to, at the very least, see the Robin Hood gang because Michelle, my wife, is a huge fan of Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood, and definitely wants to get her picture with those guys. But, you know, if Ludwig von Drake is there, I'll be very happy about that. Of course, Walt Disney World Marathon took place very recently, and once again, Darkwing Duck was out along with Launchpad McQuack, and I have yet to get my photo with either of those characters or meet them or anything like that. Tempted to take part in the next marathon if Disney doesn't pull those characters out, though. It seems like there's probably going to be another Long Lost Friends week sometime this year as part of Limited Time Magic, and I really, really hope Disney takes that opportunity to bring out the Duck characters. That would be fantastic, but we'll see. Getting a bit ahead of ourselves there, although looking forward at future Limited Time Magic offerings. Walt Disney World has detailed a bit more about some of the ones that they previously announced. True Love Week now has dates. It's going to be February 11th through the 17th, of course, surrounding Valentine's Day. And during that week, a Cinderella Castle will be bathed in pink and red, while there will be Prince and Princess meet and greets, as well as some limited edition Valentine collectibles. Then there's also going to be Independence Week, July 1st through 7th, so that first full week of July surrounding July 4th. There will be red, white, and blue in the parks, fireworks, Cinderella Castle, special edition USA t-shirts, ear hats, and other souvenirs as well. It's not clear as to whether Disney is planning on launching the big 4th of July fireworks all 7 of those days, or if it's just going to be July 3rd and 4th as usual, which is probably going to be the case. Maybe they'll just have a special version of the Celebrate the Magic projection show or something like that throughout the rest of the days. I don't know. We'll see when those dates come closer. And finally, the Unleash the Villains Friday is going to take place on Friday the 13th, September 13th. That's over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And Disney Villains will be taking over the park all the way until the 13th hour, that is 1 a.m., with a villainous dance party. So those are ones we've heard of before, but at least now we have dates associated with it and a little bit more information. Of course, there will be many more limited time magic offerings, both out here at Walt Disney World and at Disneyland throughout the rest of 2013. The Bayou Bash is already going on, returning from last year. This year, they're calling it part of limited time magic out at Disneyland, New Orleans Square. And they've also recently announced that the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, the Asian New Year celebration is going to be taking place in just a couple of weeks, this time over at Disney's California Adventure, or Disney California Adventure, rather than over at Disneyland like it was last year. So here's another announcement that came out of Walt Disney World this week. Something new is on its way to Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's a new park-wide interactive experience debuting in spring of this year based on the Pixar film Up. It's going to be the Wilderness Explorers Adventure organization, in which guests will be able to roam the park completing challenges and earning badges. There will be more than 30 badges available to sort of collect along the way, and I'm sure there will be some Up characters involved as well. Disney actually tested this experience a number of months ago. It involved hunting around the park using binoculars to find things, etc. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, a scavenger hunt of sorts that you can do on a daily basis. It's not going to cost anything extra, so I'm looking forward to checking that out in a few months. Going on this weekend over at the Orlando Science Center, which is maybe half an hour, 40 minutes or so away from the parks, is a special event called Otronicon. It's the 8th annual version of this celebration of interactive technology, and this year Disney has a small exhibit there, though a very interesting one, in which they're showing off a behind-the-scenes look at some of their theme park technology, specifically some audio animatronics and ride control technology. They've got a little Small World doll head showing you the animatronics behind it. You can press the buttons and move its eyes and mouth. They're showing off the animatronics behind a bit of Cars Land and the human hand animatronics, etc. There's a few more things. You can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see pictures and video of this exhibit. And as I said, it is going on through tomorrow, through January 21st at the Orlando Science Center. So if you want to see all that in person, head over there to check it out. Now let's turn to the world of movies, where the Walt Disney Studios has announced fairly decent changes and announcements for lineups, their upcoming slate of films for the next couple of years or so, with a couple of fairly major announcements here. The biggest of which is that Pirates of the Caribbean 5 is indeed in the works. It'll be starring Johnny Depp, of course, as Captain Jack Sparrow. Jeff Nathanson is writing the screenplay, and the release date has been set for this fifth installment of Pirates of the Caribbean as July 10th of 2015. So about 2.5 years away for that one. Then The Muppets 2 has officially been announced for March 21st of 2014, so a little over a year away. It's being produced by Todd Lieberman and David Hoberman and directed by James Bowman, who's also writing the screenplay along with Nick Stoller, who is also serving as executive producer. But the biggest news is that Ricky Gervais, the comedian, will be the star of Muppets 2, not Jason Segel, as was in the first one. Ty Burrell's also going to be there, and of course the whole Muppet gang. And it seems like Ricky Gervais is very, very excited to be the lead in this next Muppets film. He was posting on Twitter how excited he was that he's been a Muppets fan for as long as he can remember. So, and he's hilarious. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think he'll do an even better job than Jason Segel did with the previous Muppets film. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is going to be released on April 4th of 2014, so a little over a year away for that one. Maleficent, starring Angelina Jolie, is going to be released. This release date actually changed. It's going to come out July 2nd of 2014. It was going to be March. Now it is July, and it will be released in 3D. Guardians of the Galaxy, another Marvel movie, has a date of August 1st of 2014. Next year is going to be a busy year in movies. Also coming out next year will be 1952, which is a film starring George Clooney. That'll be coming out December 19th of 2014. And directed by Brad Bird, who you may know from the world of Pixar. And finally, something removed from the slate, which is unusual for Disney. The Little Mermaid in 3D is, well, it's not coming out anymore. You're not going to be able to see The Little Mermaid in a 3D treatment on the big screen. It was set to come out, I think, in September, but it's just simply not happening anymore. The Monsters, Inc. was recently re-released to theaters in 3D, and box office results were horrible. Nobody essentially saw Monsters, Inc. in 3D, and I think Disney has realized taking these old films and converting them to 3D is not always a surefire winner, so they've just abandoned The Little Mermaid for now, though since they were already, I assume, in the conversion process, they may still release it on Blu-ray 3D. I'm not sure about that. Here's a little more movie news, something interesting that sort of broke yesterday from the Sundance Film Festival. There's a movie called Escape from Tomorrow that apparently was shot in the Disney parks out here in Florida as well as in California, but completely without permission. They didn't seek Disney's permission whatsoever. They didn't tell Disney they were shooting. It was a bit of a guerrilla filmmaking endeavor. Apparently it's a very, very long film that they shot. It's in black and white. It kind of shows the darker side of Disney. It's taking a look at some very adult themes, but set inside the parks. From what I've heard from those who have seen it, is that it's not a very good movie. But it's there. It was shot almost entirely in the parks, which is interesting, and whether or not it'll ever make it out to the world to see depends on how quickly Disney's lawyers pounce on it. But it was directed by a guy named Randy Moore, and it's certainly getting a lot of attention for simply having been shot at Disney's parks. And the world of video games now. Epic Mickey 2 is something we've been talking about recently. It came out fairly recently and has not done very well either. The first Epic Mickey, which everybody was really, really looking forward to, a lot of hype around it, sold 1.3 million copies at launch. And then Epic Mickey 2 sales have been not nearly as good. Only 270,000 copies or so have been sold. Staggeringly less than the first one. I think a lot of people were turned off after the first one didn't turn out to be quite as well as the world had hoped it would. And then Epic Mickey 2, as I said when I reviewed it a couple of weeks ago, it's kind of more of the same thing. And despite all that, Warren Spector is still interested in creating a Epic Mickey 3. Who knows if that's going to work or not, depending on how the sales continue for Epic Mickey 2. And final bit of news this week, Bob Iger, chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, has collected $40.2 million for his compensation for the last fiscal year. That's an increase over the previous year, and the annual shareholders meeting for the Walt Disney Company is coming up a little less than 2 months from now. It's going to be March 6th in Phoenix. And that'll do it for your news from around the world this week. In this week's tip, we're mixing things up a little bit because I've actually got a question that I will then answer as part of the tip. The question comes in from Rachel, who writes, I've been an avid listener of your podcast for the past 2 years. I'm British, so trips to Walt Disney World are a huge deal for me and my partner, and it is quite an expensive holiday. However, we've saved up and booked a holiday in May to stay at a Disney resort. We'll be there for the first Star Wars weekend in Disney's Hollywood Studios. I'm extremely excited, and I wanted to know if you had any tips for such a busy day at one of the parks. We've only visited in September previously, which we found to be a quiet time. Also, will the other Disney parks be quieter during the Star Wars weekends? Rachel, excellent questions there. Of course, Star Wars weekends is a big event at Disney's Hollywood Studios every year, and now that Disney owns Lucasfilm and Star Wars, I have a feeling this year is going to be even bigger than ever. You can certainly expect Disney's Hollywood Studios to be very, very crowded during the Star Wars weekends. During that, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is when that takes place. Of course, if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll love seeing all of the extra Star Wars entertainment that they pack into the park with the celebrities and parade and special shows and the dance-off with the Star Wars stars and the sort of the talking to, talk shows sort of style celebrity things. Anyway, that is definitely a park you'll want to go to as a Star Wars fan, but if you're not, you might want to skip it. Although, really, everybody is so focused on the Star Wars aspect of Star Wars weekends. A lot of the other rides throughout the park, not including Star Tours, can sometimes get pretty low wait times because everyone is so focused on Star Wars stuff. As for the other parks, Star Wars weekends really doesn't have too much of an effect on any of the other parks. It's not a terribly large increase, and May is a great time to come because it has not, early May, schools have not quite let out yet for summer break. So I think it'll be a good time to be here, and I wouldn't worry about it being too busy around all the other parks. So the tip to summarize all of that is, yes, definitely come during Star Wars weekends, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. Obviously, you'll enjoy all that, but you also don't have to worry about too heavy of other crowds. So everybody else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And now, before we jump into this week's main feature, let me put in a quick word about capturing magic. It's iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation, whether you're at Disneyland or Walt Disney World. Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. It is the perfect way to ensure that you don't miss a magical moment. While in the parks, the app will remind you of desired photo ops and on your list, and when you're near those locations. And then when you take a photo, you can use the app to mark off who's in the picture, which camera you took it with, and then you can later easily find, export, and organize your pictures. You can even email yourself with a list of all the photos that you took during your trip. The Capturing Magic iPhone apps are available now in the iTunes App Store. So as I said at the top of the show, I was in California this week for a rather big event from Disney Interactive. It took place on Tuesday at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood in Los Angeles, right along the Walk of Fame and near the Chinese Theater and all of that. And this is actually my first time I've ever been inside the El Capitan Theater, which was a nice treat there. I ended up actually walking around on stage as part of the event, which was an even bigger treat. But aside from all of that, the event itself was to unveil something called Disney Infinity. And this is a video game, and you would think, oh, yeah, it's a video game. How big of a deal could this possibly be? Well, this is definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest, endeavors that Disney Interactive has ever put together in terms of a video game. It is uniting Disney characters from all over. They're bringing together Pixar characters with non-Pixar characters, and eventually, they hope, moving on through decades of Disney history, to bring them all together into these sort of interacting together in open worlds, as well as story-based presentations across multiple consoles, across mobile devices, as well as online, and combining all of that with real figurines that you can collect and then use in the game. It's quite the undertaking, and I will begin to describe everything that is involved in Disney Infinity. It's very, very impressive, let me tell you that. I had a chance to be hands-on with the game. This is the first time anyone outside of Disney and Avalanche Software, which is the Disney-owned developer that they are working with to create this game, outside of them, this is the first time anybody has had a chance to actually get hands-on with Disney Infinity. And I will say it is very, very impressive. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it. There was a 50-minute presentation that began this whole event, the Disney Infinity unveiling. That whole presentation, you can head over to our YouTube channel or InsideTheMagic.net and watch the whole thing. I want to say up front, thanks very much to the Dawes brothers, as well as my wife, Michelle Moss. We were all sort of the Inside the Magic crew there covering this because it was a big event. So thanks to all the help that I had in bringing all of this to you. So you can head over and watch the video of the whole presentation if you want to really learn the nuts and bolts of everything and see it all as it was presented to the media, as well as D23 members that were in attendance there and some other special guests. But I'm going to sort of summarize it here for you in the next little while to give you an idea of just the massive scope that Disney Infinity really encompasses. The game is going to be released in June, so it's still 6 months out from actually hitting store shelves, and it has basically 2 play modes that you'll be able to take part in while you're playing this. There's something called play sets, in which you'll follow sort of story-based worlds using characters that are entirely familiar from worlds like Pirates of the Caribbean, Monsters University, actually, the prequel that's coming out in a few months, The Incredibles, Toy Story, Nightmare Before Christmas, Phineas and Ferb, Cars, Wreck-It Ralph, and more. As I said, they're planning on including a number of characters from different Disney universes over the years. And so these play sets that you get, the virtual play sets, will allow you to play through storylines that are similar to what you've seen in these films. They're not going to follow the films themselves specifically, but what they will do is allow you to sort of take on that same sort of world. So with Monsters University, you're playing in the Monsters University world without actually following the story of the film. It's kind of a prequel of sorts, if you will. Pirates of the Caribbean exists simultaneously with the first 3 films, but you'll be able to play sort of in that world without actually following the story. Same with The Incredibles. It's same sort of time frame-ish. There's still Syndrome as the villain, etc., but it's not exactly the movie's story. It's kind of this side storyline. So those are the, as they're calling them, play sets that you'll be able to play with. And throughout that time, there are going to be, at launch time, more than, or actually, there are going to be 20 character figurines that you're going to be able to play with. Now, those of you who are familiar with Activision's Skylanders, very, very popular series. In fact, they just came out with Skylanders Giants, the sequel, introducing even more figurines. You'll probably seen them in any video game store or Toys R Us or Target or wherever you go to do your shopping. You've probably seen these figures hanging on the pegs, or maybe you haven't because they sell out quite frequently, but they've been there. And Disney is essentially getting into that game, though I'm told when I was doing some interviews there, I asked, well, is this Disney's answer to Skylanders? And they said, well, Disney Infinity was pitched before Skylanders ever even hit stores. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. So we'll take that for what it is. It's using these Disney characters from throughout recent years for now, and really putting an interesting sort of art style on them. They don't look exactly as they did in the movies, though The Incredibles probably matches the art style of the Incredibles film as closely or more closely than some of the other ones. You know, it's got the Incredibles family of Dad and Dash and Mom Helen and Violet, the daughter, and there's Syndrome, the villain, as well. And they all look pretty close to how they did in the film. Then you've got the world of monsters, where you start to see a little bit of a sort of blocky stylization. I don't mean blocky in a bad way. It's just kind of the angular version of these characters, the way that they are stylized for Disney Infinity, for Mike Wazowski and Sully as well. And then you get to the world of Pirates of the Caribbean, and the art style really starts to show there, because they're not live action. They're cartoons at this point. They're animated characters, I should say. And though they do capture the mannerisms of giant Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow very well in this animated version, but it is a very unique art style specific to Disney Infinity. You can tell that that is what it's for. It also includes Captain Barbossa, Davy Jones, and Pintel and Rigetti, and a bunch of other familiar Pirates characters that will all be coming out in these little figurines that you can almost compare to the world. In fact, it was inspired by the world of vinyl collectibles, but they are definitely not like Vinylmation. They're their own unique type of characters. So for those of you who have never played Skylanders before, the way this essentially operates is there's a base that they're calling the Disney Infinity base that connects up to your console, whether you're playing on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 or Wii U or any of that kind of thing. It's even coming out for PC. And you have this base that you then put the characters on, the physical figurines that are about 2-3 inches tall, depending on the characters. You take them out of the package, you put them on this, and when you put them on this base, they appear on screen in the video game. It's a very cool interaction. It's a lot of fun when it comes to the world of Skylanders to do, and I think it'll be even more fun to do with the world of Disney characters, especially if the game is successful, as it probably will be, and they really get to expand over the decades and decades of Disney history. Right now, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of classic Disney characters that are part of this experience. As I said, they're focusing on a lot of Pixar, as well as things like Nightmare Before Christmas, Wreck-It Ralph. A lot of people are really excited about that, Phineas and Ferb, and sort of those worlds, contemporary properties at the moment, but they do have other elements that I'll talk about in a minute that they are bringing in from the past. So that's kind of how this playset idea works. They plan on releasing more figures throughout this year after the launch in 2013. So you basically play sort of through these stories and have these adventures, and we'll be talking about even more how that's going to work here in just a few minutes once I get to some interviews that I did about each of these sections. I just want to kind of give an overview of what Disney Infinity is here at the moment. Now, the other side, and this is where things get really exciting for me, for Disney Infinity, it's not just playing through these storylines. There's something called Toy Box Mode. This is where anybody who's played Minecraft or Little Big Planet will instantly relate, or even if you've played Toy Story 3, the video game that had this Toy Box Mode. This is exactly where it was inspired from. In fact, this Avalanche Software created the Toy Box Mode and the whole game for Toy Story 3. Toy Box Mode was very successful in that, and they've expanded on that and created this incredibly detailed ability to enter essentially a giant play area, a giant toy box where you can do just about anything. You can combine all of your figures from all of these worlds, all of the characters, including toys that you can then add, and you can play with them. There are no rules, is the way that they're putting it. So the possibilities are quite literally endless. You can create your world. You can build them block by block through a number of different options. You can add textures from all these different worlds. You can add backgrounds. You can add programming to it. You can make different groups of characters actually have some sort of logic behind them. Like you can group them together into teams and battle each other, or you can battle them, or you can just run around aimlessly and shoot at stuff, or you can literally do whatever you want. In fact, it's so incredibly versatile, this Toy Box Mode, that you can literally create your own games through methods of, like I said, it's not really programming. You don't actually write code, but you can, move things around and add logic sequences to things so that it tells you, this behaves like this, and there are barriers here. So you can create a kart racing game. It could be first-person driving around. It could be top-down kart racing. You could create a side-scrolling platformer game featuring, Wreck-It Ralph and Pirates characters all together in the world of Tron, for instance. It's really, it literally is endless what you can do, and all of this is facilitated through something called power discs. And there are two different versions of power discs. Some of them are power-ups for your characters, and others set the world around you. These are going to be available, of course, for purchase as well, though a starter pack will include all of this, and I'll get to sort of pricing and all of that in just a little bit. But by adding power discs to the base underneath your characters or in a special slot next to it, you'll be able to set your Toy Box Mode. The whole world could be the world of Tron Uprising, for example, or it could be the world of Alice in Wonderland, or it could be underwater with Finding Nemo as you're going through the area. And just by adding these little discs in addition to the characters, it's all powered by RFID technology. Very, very simple to use. You just simply place it on the base, and it shows up on the screen. It's pretty impressive. As I said, anyone who's played Skylanders is already quite familiar familiar with it. Now, there's some interesting notes to how all of this is going to interact with each other. You're wondering, okay, are you going to be able to take Sully from Monsters University and put him in the world of Pirates of the Caribbean and then play through that story? No, you can't do that. When you're playing in the playset mode and the story mode, you can only play with those specific characters to those stories. However, once you're in Toy Box mode, literally anything goes. It's unbelievable the amount of things that you can do. You can build familiar places. They have examples already built in there, like Cinderella Castle or Scrooge McDuck's Money Bin that you can literally fly into, just to name a couple of many examples. Those are the things you can sort of achieve, accumulate over time as you go through achievements, etc. There are adventures that take you kind of through a tutorial of sorts to really get you acquainted with how you can do this. There are these toys that you can play with, the vehicles you can ride around in, like a souped-up Cinderella carriage with giant monster wheels and rocket launchers on the side, and it's really just an endless amount of creative play. And it's not just by yourself either. You can do 2-player, local, or up to 4 players simultaneously online, where you can all enter this world and just go crazy with each other. The idea is simply to play. And I can tell you, from being hands-on at this this unveiling, it is so much fun. Disney Interactive games in the past have been they're fun, they're all right, like Disney Universe, which came out, I don't know, a year or so ago. It was amusing, it was entertaining, but Disney Infinity truly is a lot of fun. And now, I want to take you to the unveiling at the El Capitan Theater to basically give you a little bit more insight into how all of this comes together, really help you understand how it all works from it's people who are able to talk a little bit more hands-on about it than I am, because they are the ones who were giving the presentations there and that I talked to there, who actually have worked on the game. And we're going to start out actually by hearing from John Lasseter, a name that I'm sure everybody out there knows who he is. He was, of course, heading up many aspects of Pixar and now Walt Disney Animation in general, even as a hand in Imagineering now. And of course, we've heard from him many times before. Everybody listening to the show knows who John Lasseter is. And he was there sharing his excitement for why Disney Infinity is going to be such an incredible opportunity for Disney fans to really have fun and play and do something different and unique from anything else that has ever been done from a video game world, especially in the Disney video game world. So now let's hop on over to the El Capitan Theater to hear John Lasseter talking about Disney Infinity.
First, excuse me, I just want to say hi to all my fellow Disney geeks at D23. How are you guys? So excited that you're here. I grew up in a family where my mom was an art teacher. And so in our family, creativity was encouraged. And I loved playing. And to me, the playing was extremely creative. So I always say that, true play is creativity, and creativity is play. And it was so exciting at home, because in my kind of playing, it became about stories and characters and stuff like that. And then there was this kind of juxtaposition of like the toys that you had, and you created things together, It wasn't just you would play exactly with just my G.I. Joes, but then the Lego came into it, and then Hot Wheels and all this stuff. And it just became this fun play, but there's always story and characters kind of involved in that. And it's interesting how that never left me. I mean, and I would get so lost, in the play. And this is where I do believe in the creative brain, where you lose track of time. And my mom would say, okay, your friend has to go home now. And I go, we just got started. She said, you've been at it for 2 hours. And we're like, what? And it was so exciting. It's that creative play. And I have 5 sons, and to me it's so important to encourage, that creativity. It is so vitally important. And I bring that to Pixar. I bring that drive of creativity and putting that first and foremost. it's a Disney animation as well, and all those stories that we're creating, it's so vitally important, because quality is the best business plan to me, and it comes from making great product. A great product can only come from if you're really having tremendously talented people and really supporting them creatively. But it's like those people started with, play and being creative at the very beginning. It's so connected. And I got that from my mom, who was an art teacher. And I'm so excited about Disney Infinity. This thing is unbelievable. Now, it's got this awesome history. I first started working with Avalanche. This amazing studio that does computer games and stuff. I need more than that. These guys are so creative. And we started working, they first met them when they came and pitched to us at Disney, for Toy Story 3. We had a number of companies come and pitch us with ideas. And these guys came in, and right away I felt like these guys were different, right? Because at first they pitched, okay, half of the game is going to be your typical game where you follow the story and you can do all the stuff. But the other half is, we just want to live. These are toys, and we just want to let kids play. We're like, okay, I'm listening. And it was so much fun to kind of hear this idea that grew out of this, to have this toy box full of toys, and it's like they can do whatever they want and go anywhere and all this stuff and build stuff and change stuff, and it's really completely up to the player to do this. And I was so excited about this, and we had an amazing time working with these guys. And this idea was a bigger idea than we had ever thought. And so they said, look, we want to expand this. We want to make it so that we can have lots of characters from lots of stories that we've created at Pixar and Disney come together in one place. And I'm going, whoa. The one thing I can't stand is when you take characters from one of our movies, take it out of the story, and pop it into something and pull someone else in there. And I said, Mr. Incredible does not live in the same world as Sully and Mike. I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen. And I go, and so we started talking about it, and he said, but if you were playing with the toys from those movies, and it's just like Andy. In the Andy's room, there's a toy box, and it's like full of toys from all different things, and they come together, and he plays with them all in a very creative way. We thought, that's something cool. And so that became the theory of how we started coming up with these characters. And so the design process for these characters, both within the game and these gorgeous little figures. D23, I do want you to notice how cool these are, folks. Even if you're not into video games, baby, you gotta have these. The nerd in me comes out when we're doing reviews on this. I mean, you can see up on the screen this beautiful process of developing the Sully character in the sense of coming up with a design. And we wanted to come up with a stylization that you haven't seen before, that you kind of can see how it's a set of gorgeous, because we're so inspired by the gorgeous vinyl work that's being done in the collector toy market these days. And we thought, let's come up with a sense of stylization that's so appealing, but you can apply that stylization to every single world. And that kind of brings them together, yet you can celebrate the individuality of each of the worlds that they've come with. And I think it's just, these things are fantastic, and how beautiful these are. And worked with, Pixar artists, Disney artists, with the Avalanche artists, we wanted to get it right. We worked with, sculptors and designers and story artists and everybody to get this to look just right. So it's so high quality in the aesthetic, which is really important to me. Again, quality is the best business plan. It is really important. But one of the things to me that's the most exciting about Infinity is the creativity. It goes back to that. Play is creativity, creativity is play. It's amazing what you can do with this. They call this, it's a toy chest that you have all your toys and you can pull out your play sets and you can just do whatever you want. to me, I almost look at it as a tool chest for creativity that we're giving everybody. And what's so staggering about this is not what's happening with it right now, but the potential of what's going to happen in the future when it gets out there in the hands of kids, of adults, of creative people, and just getting lost and creating stuff and creating stories and juxtapositions of things that we can't even imagine right now. That's what's so exciting. And I've never seen that before in any game, to this level of quality and aesthetic and beauty and fun. Now, the fun is so important to this, to me, because I love having fun in everything that I do. I mean, look at it, wearing a Wreck-It Ralph Hawaiian shirt. You know, I love having fun in everything we do. We put it in our movies. But now it's in your hands. And the more nutty and the more insane that it can be, let's put Buzz Lightyear's jetpack on Mr. Incredible and then fly him over. And it's just become, now you become a little kid again. And just the fun, let's build the tallest building and knock it down. You know? It's that kind of thing. My little boys, you know, we have wooden blocks, and they love the most the tallest tower I could build, and they would run through it, right? And my wife would just, what are you doing? You're going to get brain damage, you know? And it's just the craziest you can be with it, and that's what this gives you. I've never seen quite like this before. It is so exciting, but it's with characters you know and love. And you can put them all together in a way that is really exciting. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this getting out of the world and starting to see, you know, things that what people will do with this. Because, you know, people are creative, and it's going to be really fun. And you're going to be able to, you know, like one-up your friends, you know, and you can take your figure, go over to your friend's house, and like show what you're doing. It's going to be really great to share with us and show people and show off what you're doing. It's really fun. But to me, this is one of the most creative things in the interactive world I've ever seen. And I'm so excited to be a part of this. And so excited to really push the aesthetic, the storytelling, the design, the animation is fantastic on the characters. I'm really excited, really proud of this. I'm really proud of all the Avalanche guys and everybody at Disney Interactive, this and all the folks that work with it. You know, I work with at Disney Animation and Pixar, and everybody's been involved in this. It's a true group effort with this.
So there you have it, a bit from John Lasseter at the unveiling of Disney Infinity at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. Obviously, he's very excited about it, as should everybody be because it is indeed an extremely fun experience, and as he said, kind of a childlike experience to just simply play, simply get in that toy box mode, simply build that tallest tower, or strap on Buzz Lightyear's jetpack onto Sully or Jack Sparrow or whatever, and climb into a recognizer from Tron and fly it around, and then all of a sudden shoot a shrink ray at somebody. It's just silly fun. I was watching the developers actually play. There was four sort of right next to each other, four games set up in the toy box mode, and they were all playing against each other, or with each other, really, not against, because there's no rules, there's no winner, there's no anything, you don't die, you just simply play. And everybody, with the four guys who were playing and everybody watching, were just laughing our heads off, because all of a sudden, somebody would delete the ground underneath them and they would fall, and then somebody would add it and change the background and be in a totally different world, and then somebody would fly in with a special toy and run somebody over, and then you could shoot a sort of sticky thing and latch onto the back of it and go gliding on a hoverboard as you're flying. It's just an endless amount of, literally endless. They keep adding on it. They said they have thousands of these possibilities, these toys you can play with in addition to the characters, and it just goes on and on. I want to talk a little bit more about each of these specific worlds now. Let's go through the 3 play sets that are available, and then talk even more about the toy box area. So play set number 1 that I want to talk about here is The Incredibles. Of course, you're hearing the music here in the background. That should have clued you in a little bit. And The Incredibles, the story essentially is very simple. You're fighting Syndrome. That's it. It doesn't really go much deeper than that. It's sort of these worlds that you go through in your battle as you are the Incredibles fighting against Syndrome. So let's hop back over on stage at the El Capitan Theater to talk to some folks from Disney, from Avalanche Software of Disney, and about how this Incredibles world.
I'm Jeff Bunker. I'm the studio art director.
Okay, great. So tell me a little bit about the Incredibles playset for Disney Infinity. What makes it unique compared to the other ones?
Well, the first thing is, I guess it's what you would expect when you go into the Incredibles playset, is that we want you to feel like you're a superhero. So we put a lot of danger, really big type of enemies, things that you expect to have to fight against if you were a superhero. And then the other thing that's really unique to the Incredibles is that each one of those, the characters that you could be, which is, you can be Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, Violet, or Dash, that each one of those have their powers that you'd expect. Like Dash is super fast, and Violet she has her energy defensive ball that she has, or the Mr. Incredible is really strong, and Mrs. Incredible, she's got her, we call it the sticky hand, because she can go around, she can grapple on things, or she can grab enemies and bring them to her, or she's just really good at controlling the enemies around her. And it's just we just put a lot of events and things that allow you to do combat and just feel like a superhero.
It's a very action-oriented of the three. Would you say this is the most sort of go version?
Each one of them has some action in their own way, but this is definitely the one that's got the most action, more combat, especially melee type combat.
So I understand the story of this playset sort of kind of picks off where the Incredibles left off, but with a little bit of a twist.
Yeah, it's really, we try hard not to just tell the same story that you've heard before, because that's kind of boring to see the movie and just play the game. So it is kind of taken off, like just before they go back to the house to find Syndrome has Jack, and we're just saying, what if he didn't go there and he just had more Omnidroids that he had released on the town, and so it's an alternative finish to that.
So what is the actual gameplay as you go through it? Did you just battling enemies, using all your special, abilities, and just earning sort of achievements along the way?
That's a lot of the game, but for those that don't like that type of gameplay, we have other types where you can go to the headquarters and you can buy buildings and you can customize those the way you want. You can put different finishes on them, and the buildings are interactive in a way that you'd expect a toy to be interactive. There's buttons on it that have different activities and just different ways that you can play with them. And there's vehicles that you can get, so you can drive around the town. There's different ways there's glide packs and hoverboards and different type of vehicles like that also to have fun with.
So it's expanding on the universe that you saw in the movie. It's not just, here's the Incredibles movie. It's much more than that.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be a lot in this game that you never saw in the movie. It's definitely expanding on it.
Great, thank you. So there's a bit about the universe of The Incredibles in Disney Infinity. As you hear, it is more than just sort of, fighting your way through. And that's the true with all of these playsets. It is the idea of playing with a toy. You're playing, you can, create these buildings and build on them and push buttons and, have all these special abilities, etc. And it is, it's something you got to sort of wrap your head around to really understand how all of that works. But, if those of you watching the video version, you could see a bit of the gameplay there that was going on in the background behind that interview. And, it is just, it's simply a fun game to play through without too much worry about, am I going to lose? What's the points, etc. There's none of that. It's just you're just simply playing and having fun. So from that, now let's move over to the world of Pirates of the Caribbean with a very similar sort of gameplay as The Incredibles, though no special abilities. Instead, you are taking control of Captain Jack Sparrow, playing sort of through the time period of the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean films, plus a little bit of theme park elements worked in there, and you're simply being a pirate. You're battling with sword fights and puzzles and sailing ships and customizing a crew and firing cannons and all that stuff. And let's hop back over to the El Capitan to hear even more about how all of that works. Give me an overview of what makes the Pirates of the Caribbean playset in Disney Infinity unique.
All right, so the Pirates playset is all about obviously sailing at sea, on land, and sea battles, as well as traveling between islands. And so you'll get a way different experience, and some of the combats plays a little bit different. But also on sea battles, you can customize your ship as well, and you can unlock really cool and unique toys for that playset.
So you're walking around these pirate worlds as Captain Jack Sparrow, and you can helm a ship. What is the sort of, are you sailing between worlds and going on adventures when you get there?
Yeah, so that first level that I was playing is the first level of the game. It's a tutorial. So Pintel and Rigetti are going to take you through missions in there, certain experiences. Once you open up a certain amount of missions, the game will open up where you unlock your pirate ship, and that gives you now access to the entire level. So at that point, you can choose and play whichever, you can go to whichever island and explore that island, whichever one you choose. So the game sort of is more of an open toy box game at that point.
Now, Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow had very unique facial expressions and mannerisms. It seems like some of those have been captured in animated form here.
Yeah, that's right. So in all of our characters, we pride ourselves with animation. We work with Pixar quite often. We want to make sure that we have, we sort of nod to every character that we have like that.
And you'll encounter a variety of characters from the Pirates of the Caribbean universe as you're going through?
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any surprises? I think I heard during the presentation it'll be from the first 3 films. Is there anything even more than that?
No, mainly from the first 3. So
with a few nods to the theme parks.
That's right. Yeah, that very first level is a definite nod to the theme park.
And then in addition to sailing on ships, there is sword fighting and other sort of puzzle attributes?
Yeah, so it's, we want to pay off different types of gameplay. So we're going to have, obviously customization for the person who likes to customize. We'll have combat for the person who likes to do combat. And then we'll have puzzle platforming as well. And so, if you're any of those player types, we've got enough gameplay there for you to...
Do you have to do all of those in order to sort of beat this playset?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Okay. I mean, but that's the thing is like if you're playing multiplayer with your, if kids and parents are playing together, it sort of gives them that opportunity to, one player could go do one thing that they like, the other player could go do the other. So.
Are you showing off any of the other features besides sailing a ship here?
Yeah, so right now I'm just encountering some enemies, and the camera will lock on to whichever enemy is closest to you, and I'm shooting broadside cannons out at that enemy to sink him. We've also got on-deck cannons, and those are certain toys that you unlock in the playset. So we'll have, I think, about 5 or 6 deck cannons that you can swap between. So if you're in a multiplayer game, I could be sailing the ship, shooting the broadsides. You could be on the deck shooting the deck cannons. So it offers a lot of sort of cooperative gameplay. We're also going to be able to platform up the mast and get up to the crow's nest and things like that, as well as customize the ship. So as you pick up red capsules in the world, you're opening customizations for your boat, but you can also acquire customizations by destroying a certain enemy in the level. And in some cases, we have certain puzzles to where you want to dress a ship up like that enemy to get to certain parts.
So the Disney Infinity name really is true in every aspect of it, that there's just a seemingly endless amount of things that you can do.
That's right. Yeah, you basically go where you want to go, play the way you want to play, and sort of choose the type of gameplay that you like.
Awesome. There you go. More about the Pirates of the Caribbean section of Disney Infinity. As you're sort of taking all this in, it's hard to believe that all this is part of one video game. It sounds like, oh, there's an Incredibles game, and there's a Pirates game, and what I'll talk about in a second, there's a Monsters University game. And no, this is all part of one game, and it's only half of that one game. It's really such an incredible expanse, and really quite impressive that they've put all of this together. So now let's advance over to something we're not as familiar with. Of course, we're familiar with the world of Monsters, Inc. Monsters University, prequel to Monsters, Inc. isn't coming out for a few months, although it will be out by the time Disney Infinity comes out. So they weren't able to show off too much at this preview, this unveiling of Disney Infinity, because they didn't want to spoil anything for the film. But what they were able to show off was sort of things you've seen in the trailers for tour Monsters University, sort of the courtyard areas, and really give an idea of what the story behind this Monsters University playset for Disney Infinity is, which is a humorous battle against Monsters University's rival school, Fear Tech. It takes place over day and nighttime and involves plenty of scaring and pranks that you pull and kind of college activities. So now let's hear a little bit more about that.
Jeff Castilia, I'm the game director on Monsters University.
Great. So tell me what makes the Monsters University playset in Disney Infinity unique.
We're more focused on humor and the pranks and the kind of crazy tools you can use to prank instead of, we're not so much combat oriented, but we're really about recreating sort of the wacky hijinks of campus life and some of the fun and humor of the Monsters universe.
Obviously, Monsters University hasn't come out quite yet, though by the time the game comes out, it'll be out. Have you had a chance to sort of preview that in order to get acquainted with the world?
So we have been working directly with Pixar, and we share assets on some of the things in the movie so that we can get a heads up on how it's supposed to look, and we communicate them with them very regularly. So, and also in regards to the show, we have to be careful what we're showing so we don't spoil anything from the movie.
Right.
So.
But once you play through the full game, it'll be directly tied into everything that happened in the movie.
Absolutely. But we don't retell the movie story. So the movie has its own story. We're on a side note, and I think right now the Monsters U website is up, and they talk about the rival Fear Tech. So we kind of took the rival school thing and blew that out and said, okay, it's Spirit Week against Fear Tech, and what are the students doing during Spirit Week? It's all these crazy things that the campus people aren't so happy about, but the students love to participate in. So.
Now, as you're playing through, you're playing as Sully initially, or you can get, I guess, Mike Wazowski later on, and the goal is to just simply set up humorous pranks and sort of scare along the way as well?
So there are places where you have a target to scare. So the pranking really works into the overall sort of score between the two schools, so that they're unofficially keeping score, and you can see as you do different missions, your score is going up. Occasionally Fear Tech will get ahead, and you've got to go do some things to get ahead of them. But it culminates in this series of games that happen later in the playset, where you're competing against Fear Tech students in these sort of wacky college games. So.
What is the development process like, being, you're working on Monsters, and meanwhile they're working on Pirates, meanwhile they're working on Incredibles, all for the same, game, essentially?
So we share some central pieces like character mechanics, because we have to make sure everything we do works in the toy box. So we're testing our stuff in the toy box, and we tend to have a single group of people and a technology base that lets it do that.
Right.
So as I think one of the things we have to do that's really important is we have to figure out the toys that mean a lot to us in our play set and figure out what those things mean in toy box. And like certain things, will it translate? What is that like? We want to have bicycles on campus, it's important to us, but what are the bikes like in toy box? Like, are they competitive against mounts or against cars and all those kinds of things? So it's a lot of back and forth on that. And we do play each other's play sets,
right.
To see what we're allowed.
And then it all has to make sense within your own world as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
we don't tend to make concessions for we need this because it needs to go there.
Right.
It's like we build our game, we try to stay true to property everywhere we can, and then it goes into toy box.
Fans of the original Monsters, Inc. film, are you going to see any nods to that as well, or is this just for the prequel?
It's Pixar. There's nods. I can't comment on those. So, but yeah. So we actually do have some nods to the original film too in toy box.
Oh, okay. There you go, Monsters University. Those 3 play sets are what are going to come with the starter pack. When you first buy Disney Infinity, you're going to get one figurine from each of those worlds, along with the ability to play through those play sets. The more will be released in the future. Again, that's only half the game. Now I want to talk about the half that I am personally more excited about. It's great to play through these stories and these worlds and all of that, but that's kind of your more traditional video game aspect. This other aspect of the toy box, where you can really do literally whatever you want, create whatever you want, and just have open-ended fun, really is what appealed to me and what I had the most fun playing with there at the unveiling. So now one more time, let's hop back over to the El Capitan Theater to hear a bit more about what this toy box mode is capable of. Can we take a step back sort of and just sort of get an overview of what the toy box mode is all about?
You bet. So the toy box, I kind of think of it as the creative heart of the game. It's a place where the player can go and express their imagination, and it's built up of pieces that come both they're native to the toy box itself, as well as all these pieces you get from playing the play sets. World building is a big component. Free play, which is kind of what we've been doing. We just go in there and and goof off. You can create your own games, like we created a race just a moment ago. When we were putting together like these screens that have, we call it the catalog, it has all the different toys in it. It's almost mind-boggling. It's like 10 pages, and there's these little tiny, the little tiny icons. I think we might be over 1,000 toys already, and we're still going. So we're doing multiples a day. So it's getting huge.
Walk me through something interesting and unique to Disney Infinity here on the screen.
Well, actually, you'll see something really unique here, and that is each part of this has already been customized to be a different theme. Like right here, I'm standing on Sugar Rush. This is from Wreck-It Ralph. This is, it's somebody has customized that, and I can change this to anything I want. So you can see all these different properties. It's like I can change it to this is Incredibles, part of Incredibles World, Wreck-It Ralph 8-bit, which is actually pretty cool. And it's everything in the world is this way. So anything, like somebody just they just changed the Sky Dome. You can see they went to Alice in Wonderland, and somewhere the cat's going to be in there. You can see the smoke coming up over there.
So this setup that we're looking at here, there's 4 screens around us. All of you are actually playing in the same world?
Yes, we are. Yeah, it's 4-player co-op, drop in, drop out at any point.
And so that'll be an online experience for everybody that's not here at the event?
Correct. Yep. And like you can see, there's some other things. Over here, these are my props and my items. You can have something on your back. You can also have any equipped weapon, or it's not really a weapon, it's like none of my weapons. Equipped item. Like the thing I was just using is the wand, and you can see she's holding the magic wand. And that's what you use to edit a lot of the world and to change things in the world. You can also we have tons of these other things. These are all unlocked from places. Like right here, there's a hoverboard. I can select that, and then, oops, I didn't select it. So I can ride that, and there's, the amount of things and the amount of combos is just mind-boggling. There's dozens of these kinds of things, and everything plays totally differently. Like if I have that versus if I play with a car, or I'll put a helicopter on. Like this is Dumbo, which is from the Dumbo ride. It's actually it plays like a helicopter, and I can fly this around. It's flight. There's mounts. And they all of them have their own little twists and their little things that make them special.
As you're flying around, there's some instantly recognizable features here. There's Castle, Spaceship Earth, Scrooge's Money Bin. Are those part of the game, or have those been built in just this specific world?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
The iconic sort of buildings that are around there, were those built specifically in this world, or are those part of the game?
So those are all toy box features. Somebody just they just did a global changeover. So everything just changed to Nemo. At the same time, they're all pieces that we call them high value. We're calling them set pieces internally, but they're all these super high value Disney themed things. Right. And we just put a handful in there. There's Pride Rock. We have the Matterhorn up here.
So those are going to be part of the game when you get it at home.
Yep. Yeah, you'll need to unlock these. Okay. You don't get to start with this, but they are definitely part of the experience. There'll be a huge number of them.
It spans movies and theme parks and everything Disney.
Everything Disney.
Are there any limits at all to Toy Box? Is there like one thing where you're just like, you can't do that?
Well, there's limits based on hardware, and every company has different limits for their hardware. So, really memory is pretty much it. It can be insanely large. We've had people build these castles that it's like a castle. It's essentially one giant castle, and it takes like 10 minutes to walk from one side to the other. So they can be incredibly large.
So as big as your imagination will take you pretty much.
Your imagination is the only thing that's going to limit you in here.
It's really, really quite impressive, the amount of possibilities and capabilities that can exist and do exist and will exist in the world of Disney Infinity. And of course, as you're playing through that toy box mode, you'll be able to upload and share your world. And they're actually going to have a moderated online community, and they said that they were going to have sort of challenges to design certain things, and they'll pick the best ones and share those. Of course, you can invite friends into your world, and you can all play together online, or as I said, local multiplayer as well. And in addition to all that, of course, there are those collectible figurines. So even if you're not a gamer, as John Lasseter said, you might want to collect those as well. They're going to be available in 3-packs or available on individual pegs at the stores. Now let's talk pricing a little bit as we round out our coverage here of Disney Infinity and what it's all about. This is where somebody might be taken aback just a little bit. So pricing, the starter pack, $75, $74.99 actually. That's going to be MSRP. That includes the game itself, and the game will be available for Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U, PlayStation 3, PC. There will also be some sort of mobile versions and a 3DS version, though those seems like those are going to be different. So the core game that we've been talking about here is going to be those major console systems plus PC. So $75 gets you the game, plus gets you the Disney Infinity base that you need in order to be able to interact with the figurines and the power discs. Also going to come with an undetermined, yet to be determined amount of power discs. They said it's probably going to be 2 or 3. So you're going to get that in there as well. Of course, in total at launch time, there's going to be 20 figurines plus 20 available discs, 40 items in total that you'll be able to play with throughout the game. Additional playset packs in the future are going to be $35. So to add additional worlds like Nightmare Before Christmas or Toy Story or things like that will be $35, and those will also presumably come with not only the worlds that you'll be able to unlock and play through those story modes, but also be able to get those figurines as well. Now, if you just want to buy the figures by themselves, those are going to be $13, which is definitely pricier than Activision's Skylanders, which go on sale often, and I'm sure Disney's figures will go on sale occasionally as well, so you don't have to worry about probably these prices being always what they are here, but it's definitely a little bit steeper than Skylanders. Of course, it's Disney, not Activision, and so it's a different thing entirely. There will also be figure 3 packs at $30, so they'd be $10 each essentially at that point. And then here's the real catcher, the power discs. If you want to buy those and you want to collect them all, that's going to be problematic. It's going to be $5 for a pack of 2 of them, I believe. And they're going to be blind packages. Ouch. So you don't know which ones you're buying. You're going to have to end up trading or going on eBay or whatever you're going to have to do to get the power discs that you want, which is a bit frustrating, though familiar to those who have collected, Disney pins or Vinylmations, etc., etc. So a good chunk of all of that is going to be available in June of this year. Of course, Disney, I'm sure, will be unveiling much more from Disney Infinity in upcoming events like Toy Fair in just a couple of weeks. They're definitely going to be there. Up in New York, and then moving forward, I'm sure they're gonna sort of release out a little bit more features here and there of what is to come, as if that wasn't enough. I am definitely really looking forward to everything that is Disney Infinity. I can't wait to play. Certainly going to have to put together some sort of Inside the Magic online play for this. We'll gather together some people and explore each other's worlds, and it's just simply fun. You're actually going to be able to use, on platforms that accept it, you can be able to use headsets and talk to each other's, etc. A few additional footnotes here for rounding this up. Many have asked about the future. What characters specifically will be included? Will it be Marvel? Will it be Star Wars? Will it be traditional animated characters? ABC shows, old Disney Afternoon, etc., etc. They basically said anything is possible. They don't have specific plans for any of those yet, or at least anything that they can reveal or announce, but anything is possible short of a few licensing issues. That really anything from the Disney universe is there. I asked whether or not this is planning on taking over for future movie-based games. A new movie like, let's say, Frozen comes out in November. Is the world of Frozen going to be lumped into Disney Infinity, or will Frozen also get its own video game? And they said, well, they can't really speak to whether or not it'll get its own video game, because that depends on the property and who's calling the shots there. But it definitely, or almost definitely, would be wrapped into the world of Disney Infinity as well. So you could still have both. So that's interesting. Also, it's worth noting, you look at these launch characters. You got monsters, you've got Incredibles, you've got pirates. Significant absence of princesses. Really, other than driving around a souped-up version of Cinderella's carriage, and in the toy box mode, there wasn't exactly a lot of sort of princess stuff in there. So I asked, what's the demographic of this? Are you really shooting at boys, trying to stay away from the girl market, or is that etc.? Why pick these particular characters? And they basically just said it seemed like a good few to start with. That there were so many possibilities for the future that this was the beginning of much to come. I didn't really have much more to say about that. And as far as Activision's response, of course, Skylanders has been very, very popular, and this has been drawing a lot of comparisons there. Activision did release a statement to Forbes in response to Disney Infinity. They said, quote, "We are thrilled by the incredible success that Skylanders franchise has had in such a short period of time. We are also flattered that one of the leading family entertainment companies is joining our Toys to Life category. We continue to focus on delivering innovative and immersive entertainment experiences to kids around the world and are pouring more creativity into our games. As a result, we are well positioned to continue leading the category, end quote. So Activision certainly saying, no, don't think so, Disney. Skylanders is still going to be on top, but we shall see. I want to wrap all of this up with a contest now. I have behind me, those of you watching the video version of the show, you see a Disney Infinity t-shirt and a tote bag. I was given these as part of the press event, the big unveiling event, and I want to give them to one of you. So it's an extra large white t-shirt, shows all the Disney Infinity stylized characters on the back, the Disney Infinity logo on there, and then the tote has the Disney Infinity logo as well. I'm going to lump these two together as one prize. I'm going to make it pretty easy for you. All you have to do to enter to win these two items together is send me an email to contest@insidethemagic.net, and in the subject line, please put show 407 contest, and then in the body of the email, answer this rather simple question if you've been listening to the show up until this point. What are the three properties, the three movies that are going to be included as play sets in the starter pack when Disney Infinity comes out in June? That should be pretty darn obvious at this point. So there it is, a little bit of a contest for you to win some Disney Infinity swag. Not available on the market yet, so you'll be among the first to be able to sport a Disney Infinity shirt. And there it is, June. It's when Disney Infinity is coming out, and I am greatly looking forward to it. If you want to see even more about it, lots of photos and even more video, including that whole 50-minute presentation, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net or check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/InsideTheMagic.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky. Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
Now let's wrap up the show with a few quick emails that have come in the last week. First up, an email from Joe who writes, first, I'd like to say thanks for an amazing job on your site and podcast. I only found your podcast about 8 months ago, but I've listened to almost all the back episodes, and my Monday 2-hour drive to work is my favorite listening to your new podcast every week. You truly do capture the tone and mood of Disney every time. One of my million questions is, can you explain the advantage or disadvantage of AAA discounts for the resort stay and or park tickets? Well, Joe, thanks very much for the compliments. Glad you are a newcomer to the show and hope you keep listening for a long time. As far as AAA goes, they do offer quite a few discounts, whether it's a Disney or otherwise. If you've got AAA as far as, getting some assistance with your car when needed, it's a good perk to have the discounts as well. I can't really speak to the specifics of the discounts because they do change, but it is always, if you are a AAA member, this goes for Joe, this goes for anybody out there, if you are a AAA member, no matter what you're doing, it's always a good idea to ask if there are AAA discounts. Disney offers for hotels, for example, annual pass holder discounts. They offer Disney Vacation Club discounts. They offer military discounts. The list goes on, that there are a variety, and AAA is usually included in that list as well. So if you're booking a trip, you're buying tickets, you're doing almost anything, sometimes even dining at restaurants, it doesn't hurt to ask, hey, is there a AAA discount? And they very well may find this extra super duper special rate, or 10% off or 20% off or whatever it is. Just make sure you have that proof that you are a AAA member. So that's kind of the general answer. I wouldn't say there's really any disadvantage to it whatsoever, other than maybe just be careful you're not, there's not a better discount other than AAA. Don't only rely on that. If you are a Florida resident or California resident or annual pass holder or something like that, make sure you look for those discounts as well. Next, an email from Jason from North Carolina who writes, just got listening to show 406, and whenever you got around to the Frank and Weenie Blu-ray review, you mentioned that the 3D looked fantastic due to the fact that they shot in 3D. While I do agree the 3D looked fantastic, it was not shot in 3D, but rather post-converted. The conversion was done by a company called Prime Focus. Thought I'd let you know. Jason, I had no idea. Looked amazing. I can't believe that was post-converted. I'm impressed. I thought all post-conversion was nonsense and pointless, and apparently I'm wrong, because that 3D Frank and Weenie looks phenomenal. So there it is. Well, at least one good example of post-converted 3D. Next up, an email from Phil, who writes, I'm taking my family to Disney in mid-February. We will arrive on the 13th. I was wondering if you know of anything special I might be looking for on Valentine's Day. I have 2 girls and 1 boy. Does Disney do anything unique on Valentine's Day that my kids or wife might enjoy. Phil, you have good timing because not only just on Valentine's Day, but throughout that week, as I mentioned close to the top of the show about an hour ago or so, they're doing a special week of Valentine's-related, romance-related entertainment as part of Limited Time Magic. You'll be able to meet princes as well as princesses at the Magic Kingdom, as well as some special merchandise, and the castle will look extra pink and red and that kind of thing. So, yes, definitely look for that kind of, Valentine's extra special things over at the Magic Kingdom. Armando writes in saying, regarding your listener that mentioned cruises out of Southern California and dining, I would agree with him as well. We've been on about 14 cruises through Mexico, Caribbean, Bahamas, Mediterranean, and Egypt, and by far the customer service and food on the Disney Cruise Line was the best we've experienced. We were on the Fantasy during the summer of 2012 and experienced nothing short of excellence with the food. We even dined at Remy and were blown away. In October 2012, we went back to the Caribbean on Royal Caribbean and were very disappointed with the food and service. Armando, thanks for your thoughts. I have sailed on Royal Caribbean recently, and it was not that bad. It was not spectacular. It certainly wasn't Disney level service, but it wasn't terrible. I had some good stuff there as well, and so I'll have to do another non-inaugural Disney cruise to really get sort of the perspective on what that is like, as I have not done it before. Mitch writes in with a link to somebody out there recreated the entire movie, Toy Story, using real-life toys. It is quite the impressive feat. It's up on YouTube. It's not very hard to find. Just look for real-life Toy Story, and it is literally the entire movie, shot-for-shot recreation using Toy Story toys. Quite impressive. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. Thanks, Mitch. And finally, an email from Jason, who writes, I'm sitting in the lobby of the Port Orleans Riverside waiting for my Magical Express coach to sweep me away and send me home. In early 2012, I took the challenge to attempt and complete the Goofy Challenge. Just a few weeks ago, I wasn't even sure I would attempt the daunting feat due to injuries. While running, I prefer to zone out and listen to a podcast, and thankfully the 2012 Year in Review show fit the bill perfectly. While I didn't do as well as I had hoped, injuries and training, I was able to complete my first ever marathon while you and Paul kept my mind occupied. So while the show may be long, I found a perfect use for it. Well, Jason, thanks very much for that email. I'm glad you found a perfect use for the Year in Review show, even though, as you said, it is incredibly long. It is a good opportunity for you to do something just like that. Find that long task that otherwise would be a struggle to get through, and pop on the podcast and just sit back and hopefully enjoy our banter for 5.5 hours. So sounds like you did. Anyway, that'll do it for listener feedback this week. And that's where we wrap up show 407 of Inside the Magic. I can't believe January is already almost over. Another week or so left in 2013. This year is just going to fly right by, and, checking out all the limited time magic that hopefully will be increasing in quality in the coming weeks and months. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of that. I definitely enjoyed the Golden Horseshoe Review when I saw it last weekend out at Disneyland, and I'm really looking forward to the Long Lost Friends Week this week and whatever's to come in the future. Of course, I am greatly looking forward to Disney Infinity. It looks like it is such a fun game. Even 6 months out from release, I had a blast playing it. I can't wait to see the final released version then. And as I said, we're going to have to get a bunch of all of you together, and we're going to play online. That'll definitely be a blast. If you want to see even more from Disney Infinity, definitely head over to the website to check it out. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. Also, don't forget to check out the Capturing Magic app that you can find in iTunes for Walt Disney World and Disneyland. A great way to organize your thoughts on picture taking around the parks. Really get it all together so you can get the best opportunities to capture those memories when you are in the parks. Just search for Capturing Magic. And didn't put in an ad for it earlier, but please do visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all of the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. No obligation whatsoever. So again, that's at lanyardlab.com. InsideTheMagic.com. And, of course, visit us over at InsideTheMagic.net. Between each week's podcast here, you'll find not only links and background music listings for this show, but all of our podcasts and videos and photos and articles and all kinds of good stuff. Links to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube to keep up with all the latest Disney and theme park fun between episodes, as I said, of this show. And that's about it for this week. So thanks to all of you for listening and for watching each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
Just a dream.